Mankani notes that chapter 6 focuses on Dawkins' attempt to explain human morality through evolution. Importantly, Mankani points out that these arguments do not actually address the existence of God, but rather challenge the notion that God or religion is necessary for morality. He emphasizes that belief in the existence of God does not stand or fall by these arguments. Mankani challenges Dawkins' claim that opposition to teaching evolution in schools is based purely on moral outrage rather than scientific grounds. He offers two non moral reasons for opposition to evolution within Muslim communities. First, revealed knowledge in Islam describes the creation of Adam directly from dust. He argues that many Muslims understand these verses as describing a direct divine act without evolutionary intermediaries. Second, Mankani notes that some Muslim philosophers argued that evolution cannot take place across essences. According to this view, creatures with different essences, like fish and birds, cannot evolve into one another. However, he acknowledges that some Islamic philosophical traditions, particularly Mullah Sadras, are compatible with biological evolution and even require it. Mankani then examines Dawkins' four Darwinian reasons for morality: genetic kinship, reciprocation, acquiring a reputation for generosity, and conspicuous generosity as advertising. He argues that these explanations might work against the necessity of religion if they produced the same kind of morality that religions advocate, but claims that they don't. He defines religious morality as standing up for what is right, even if it means standing up against your own kith and kin, and regardless of whether that stand is reciprocated or not. It must be done at the cost of loss of personal reputation, and doing it for advertising purposes is anathema to religion. Mankani argues that evolutionary morality fundamentally differs from religious morality. A selfish gene would stand to gain nothing by programming behavior that supports a stranger against a sibling or offspring. He notes that while reciprocation has some value in religion, as in do unto others as you would have them do unto you, Jesus also taught us to turn the other cheek and love your enemy, which contradicts reciprocation. He concludes that truly religious values cannot emerge out of an evolutionary process because religious earnestness often weakens one's position in society and can lead to social boycott, ridicule, castigation, exile, and even death, as demonstrated in the stories of prophets. Mankani criticizes Dawkins' argument that moral responses to ethical dilemmas like the trolley problem are largely independent of their religious beliefs or lack of them. Dawkins concludes from this that we do not need God in order to be good. Mankani calls this a very simplistic conclusion that ignores alternative explanations. He offers a religious explanation that people respond similarly to moral questions because God created humans on his own divine fitra, nature, due to which we are inherently and essentially good. Therefore, revealed religion serves to constantly remind us of our divine nature and prevent its corruption. Mankani addresses Dawkins' argument that if one claims to need God to be moral, it implies they would be immoral without God, and if they would remain moral without God, then God is unnecessary for morality. He calls this a very simplistic understanding and explores Islamic philosophical perspectives on goodness and evil. He contrasts two views. The Mutazilites held that reason and not revelation is the criterion or standard of moral judgment, and that moral qualities are objective and inherent in the very nature of things or actions. The Asherites, on the other hand, held that revelation and not reason is the real authority, and that actions themselves are neither good nor bad until divine law makes them so. Mankani notes that only under the Asherite view would morality collapse without God, while under the Mutazilite view, good and evil remain objective realities regardless. He then addresses why believers would remain moral without the promise of heaven or threat of hell, acknowledging Dawkins' point that if a person is good for the sake of reward or to avoid punishment, that is not really morality. Mankani states that this is consistent with Islamic thought, quoting Imam Ali: "A group of people worshipped Allah out of desire for reward. Surely this is the worship of traders. Another group worshipped Allah out of fear. This is the worship of slaves. Still another group worshipped Allah out of gratefulness. This is the worship of free men." He further quotes Ayatollah Khomeini on how worship motivated by fear of hell or desire for paradise is not sincerely for God and is devoid of sincere intention, while the worship of free men is performed for the love of God Almighty without fear of hell or yearning for paradise. Mankani concludes that good and evil are objective realities that humans innately recognize due to their divine nature, fitra. Revelation serves as a reminder of this nature, and sincere believers follow divine commandments not out of fear or greed but out of a desire for spiritual perfection.